My name's JC McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org. This is Civic Beat, where your voice matters, and together we shape the future of Hartford. Well, that sounds cool to say, together we shape the future of Hartford, but it doesn't always feel like togetherness when we don't have accountability and transparency from our government. So, what do we do about it? Well, one local resident has a few ideas we all could follow. It's Tuesday, December 19th. I'm Nyesha McCauley, and we're taking a beat with blogger and activist Kevin Brookman. Kevin, welcome to Civic Beat. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Looking forward to a sunny day today, I hope.
Yeah. How'd you fare yesterday and all that wind and rain?
We did very well. A lot of wind and rain, but we didn't lose power or anything, so that was good.
That is good because you're here now. I guess if you lost power, we would have had to reschedule, right? Eversource making its way around to.
No, we've got a generator.
Oh, okay. You're prepared. No doubt, to be expected. Well, Kevin, I wanted to have you on Civic Beat for a couple of reasons. The main reason is, Harvard is tuning in right now this morning and recognizes the name and possibly recognizes your face from starting a blog, We the People. Several years ago, you gained really notoriety around Hartford for sure, but also throughout the state, writing about corruption in Hartford, city government, and just all around bad behavior by elected officials and city employees. But this November, you were recognized by the Connecticut Foundation for Open Government with the Mitchell W. Perlman Freedom of Information Award. So first off, congratulations for being recognized.
Thank you.
And tell us how you feel, about this recognition and what does it mean to you?
I was surprised when I got the call that I had risen to that level, but only 3 people across the state of Connecticut got it this year or each year. And this was the second year they awarded it. So I was very proud that I received it. And it does feel good to be recognized for your efforts. Many times you think it's just going unnoticed. And it was nice to get the phone call that I had been voted on and won the award.
So freedom of information, we're going to do a little edutainment. No, we're not going to do a lot of entertainment, but educating. Freedom of information is this handy dandy nifty tool that is created to give regular everyday citizens like you and me and others the opportunity to really get under the hood of what's happening with our government and see what's going on, request documents and get information. How would you describe what freedom of information, the actual act does? How does it function in our society and in our government?
Well, it's a very easy tool that I don't think most people know they have available to them. But all you have to do is just basically put it in writing, what you're asking for. I'm looking for this document or this report. And if it's a document that exists, they have to give it to you. There are restrictions as to what they can redact and keep you from seeing, but it's very limited. So if you have a question about how your tax money is spent or, anything like that, or, you want to see an email that someone wrote at City Hall, you can request that through FOI. Like I said, there are exceptions. Not everything is open for you to view, and like contact and things between attorneys. Some of it they can withhold depending on what's going on. But it's if you have a budget question or you want to know how, who wrote a check or who's being paid for this, all you have to do is put it in writing and ask for it. And they have a certain timeline to respond and give it to you. And if not, you can go to the Freedom of Information Commission and request a hearing. And they look at the facts and decide, are you entitled to this? Or no, that's a document that you're not entitled to. So it's a very easy statute to understand and comprehend.
So you became familiar, obviously, with the act intimately through writing your blog,
Right.
We the People. So what kinds of requests have you found that you've needed to utilize the Freedom of Information tool? What kinds of things did you want to take a look at in your journeys?
Unless somebody's willing to give you the documents, if you know someone at City Hall or, at the police department or whatever, unless they're willing to give it to you, you usually have to do an FOI request. And, that's how you get to the real information. And if it exists, they really can't hide it from you. If you ask for it and it exists, they have to turn it over. And there's penalties if they don't. And that's usually assessed through the FOI commission if they look at it and find that there was any wrongdoing or anything that was done improper. But it's, the government by nature isn't transparent. So if you want something, you're going to have to specifically ask for it and hope they're honest and turn it over to you. Or also hope if they don't turn it over to you, hope there is somebody honest in that department that'll say on the side here, I'll make a copy and give you something, but you don't know where it came from. So FOI is a very good tool to use if you want to keep your government accountable.
And one of the things, I in preparing to have this conversation with you, but just also being familiar with how it works. You started this. I mean, you're Kevin Brookman. You're not affiliated with a news channel or official media. Like, we would put you in the category, I suppose, of citizen journalist. Is that sort of how you see yourself, or how do you see yourself? Like, you just a resident? Is that fair to say?
Well, I originally started off just as a resident that got fed up with stuff that was going on. I was going to council meetings, talking at public comment sessions. And then along came Eddie Perez, and that got a little more involved. And there was a lot of information that I thought was being covered up that I was trying to uncover. And that's how I really got familiar with FOI. And going back to the beginning days was when, you and Stan were conducting courses or training sessions on how to do public access programs. And I took one of those. And then we were looking for topics to do a show on, and FOI was one that I was interested in. So Stan and I, Stan was the cameraman. I interviewed the education officer at the FOI commission, Tom Hennick, and learned quite a bit just from talking to him. And I think that was a very popular show on public access with people watching it. And that's how I got started really getting involved. And the FOI commission is probably the easiest state agency you're ever going to deal with. And even to this day, if I have a question, I can call a staff attorney there and say, hey, I'm trying to get this. Do you think that's something I could get? Or, what problems will I have? Or has it been decided in the past? Is there already case history on this? And they'll, either email you the information or tell you exactly where to look. So it's not a difficult, topic to get involved with.
So when you're the creation of the blog, I guess what I'm hearing you say, it's not that you didn't set out to, like, I'm going to become like the city reporter. It was more like, I'm a resident. I see some things happening that I don't like or want to know more about. It should be open. It should be transparent. And I just want to find out. And your motivation, I guess, for that was in search of justice or fairness or equity or And I may be putting words in your mouth, but your sense of motivation behind it wasn't that I'm going to be, the city's news reporter. It was more like, this is our government and this is my role as a resident.
Yeah, the journalist, moniker finally, I guess, essentially came about um, just because of what I was doing, and people started recognizing what I was doing, and would come to me and say, hey, I heard this. Could you look into this? Could you find? And I was getting a lot of tips. Excuse me, but a lot of those were coming from people at City Hall,
Mm.
and I was very concerned about protecting them if they were giving me information. And it was interesting because Len Bestoff from NBC Connecticut, who was a good friend of mine, I think he was at Channel 3 at the time. He had gone to a conference and he came back and he said, "You got to start a blog." And I was like, "No, I'm not into all that social media stuff. No, I don't want to do it." So he said, "No." He said, "We had a seminar at this conference I was at, and they said bloggers are considered legitimate journalists by the federal courts, and that would give you the shield law protection for your sources, where you wouldn't have to be compelled to testify who they were if you were called upon." So I said, "Okay." So the blog was born, and that journalist protection is right now is a case before the Connecticut Supreme Court as to if I do qualify as a journalist, or what is the motivation for the shield laws in Connecticut. Who are they
Mm.
supposed to cover?
Mm.
So it's been an interesting journey, and a lot of questions have come up, and it's also been expensive with lawyers and things like that. But I believe in what I did, and I think I've also uncovered a lot of things in the city. Whether it's department heads claiming they lived in Hartford when they didn't, or a police chief crashing his city car and trying to cover it up through a potentially alcohol-involved incident. Um, there's just been a lot of things along the way. The Mayor Segura using his city credit card to buy caviar on New Year's Eve. Those are all things that were uncovered through FOI.
Yeah,
So,
no, very important things. And the reason why I'm asking about your, how you set out on this journey, because I'm thinking about the role of like local media in government, and local media in how it impacts what we as residents get to understand about how our city government works. I mean, if we didn't have people like yourself, or when the Current or other local papers decide to cover a story, like if we didn't have those sources of information, I wonder how much we would know about what's happening in our city government. So the role of citizen journalists is one that I find really critical to just like a democracy.
yeah, sadly, there are no. I say this, seriously. There are really no local journalists anymore. When I first started doing this, I think there were 2 or 3 reporters from the Current covering Hartford City Hall, and then there was another one for the Board of Education, and you don't see that anymore. Now you're lucky if you have one reporter to cover everything going on in the city. So the media has really changed over the years, and I think it's now up to the citizens to take up that role and try to get the information out.
So, in that vein, just to our listening audience, while I stated at the top of the show, you were recognized, got a nice, beautiful, shiny award. I don't know if it's handy, if you could show it to folks, but
It's over on the other side of the room.
okay, it just hasn't, your journey to get to that place where you're being recognized hasn't been. It's been bumpy. I'll just leave it there. It's been kind of challenging. So there's pluses and there's minuses, but certainly you made a few enemies, I think, along the way, Kevin.
Yeah, but I think if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to be afraid of what I look at. But if you are a corrupt official, or if you're doing something improper, I have no problem exposing it.
So,
Excuse me.
um, what are some of the ways that if someone watching right now is thinking about one, they would like a government to be more open and transparent and would like a freedom of information request. But also, if they're thinking about, like, hey, I would like to get involved in something like this, like, what would you recommend? What do they need to do? Is there special training that they need to look into? Writing? Should they brush up on their writing skills? Like, what would you suggest people do to get started?
I don't think the writing skills, that's important if you want people to follow you and you're not writing garbage. But excuse me. I think the first thing to do is go to the FOI website and read. It's not a long statute, but read the statute, familiarize yourself with it, what you can and can't ask for. And, don't be afraid to try it. The worst you can do is get a denial where the city or whoever you're asking says, no, that doesn't exist, or no, we're not going to give that to you. And then you go to the next step. If you think you're entitled to it, you make a complaint to the FOI commission. If not, you just take it as a loss and move on. But it's a very simple statute. The only thing you have to keep in mind is they don't have to create anything for you. If you're asking for something, it has to be a document that already exists. So you can't ask them to make something up for your needs to meet what you want. It's got to be a document that already exists, like in a report form or, you know, in written form or an email for you to be able to get it.
What about the journalistic side of this? Now, your outlet of choice was through the We the People blog. Um, did that require any other skill, or did you just say, "Hey, I'm just going to try it and see where this takes me"?
That's basically what, I said, I'm just going to try it. And then people made suggestions. There was somebody that did the artwork for the website, the logo. Somebody offered to do that when they saw the importance of what I was doing. So it's not difficult to do. You just have to put the time and effort into it to get it started. It's the same thing like a public access show. You know, I remember when we used to sit around the counter at your kitchen
Hmm.
and do our public access show. Um, and that's that you'd walk through the grocery store, people would say, "Oh, you're the public actor, you're the Channel 5 guy." So, people are watching and listening to what you're saying.
Do you feel as though you've made an impact, like on Hartford anyway, Hartford city government? Like, or what would that impact be?
Yeah, not as much impact as I had hoped for because I don't think things have really changed in Hartford that much, but you wonder how much worse they would have gotten if nobody was paying attention. So I think, I have made an impact along with excuse me, along with many other people in Hartford that aren't afraid to speak up and hold their government accountable. And I think we're coming into a period where that's going to be even more important than it has been in the past. Um, because if you let things keep snowballing that they can do whatever they want, it's it's going to be a very sad process over the years. So I think the more you can put up these little roadblocks in the way to keep them honest, benefits everybody.
Hmm. Hmm. So, We the People blog, is it still active? Are you still writing and doing?
It's not as active as it had been. I think I'm close to 8 million hits on it now over the years, but the pandemic took a real hit because people weren't working, so people weren't in the office gathering information. And then I've had some health issues, so that slowed me down. I'm just starting to get back involved in it now, and starting to get information, talking to people. So I hope to keep it going. It's not as active as it used to be, but it's still active.
All right. So that is We the People Hartford.blogspot.com. Is that correct? Am I
Yeah, that's
giving people the
that's
right?
one way to get to it, or just
Okay.
wethepeoplehartford.com
Okay.
is the website I bought for myself, but it all links together depending which address you use.
All right. So
So
I'm really as a resident in the city, I'm happy to hear that you haven't hung out your retirement shingle yet, and that we could look forward to 2024 and a lot more from Kevin Brookman. And why do you think, or what do you think we should be paying attention to right now as we head into this new administration here in the city, and just in general in the city of Hartford?
Well, I think there's a lot of concerns I have with the new administration. One is whether or not the any changes are really going to be made. As example, and I know I'm going to harp on this, but like the police chief, I think there needs to be serious change there to find a police chief that's going to be more in touch with the community. And I'm not sure if that's something a new mayor is going to be looking at without the community putting pressure on him. Um, just a lot of different things that, the council needs to be more accountable. And the only way you're going to hold them accountable is by, keeping an eye on what they do and gathering documents. So there's a lot to be done, and you can't operate in a vacuum and hope that, just because you elect them, everything is going to be fine. That's not the way it works. And you've got to keep pressure on them to do the right thing. Otherwise, they just don't do it.
Mm, mm, mm. All right. So are you open to partnering with anyone? Do you need some help? Are you building out a team, or are you still a solo operation? How can people
No,
get
still
information
pretty
to
much
you?
just me.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I would love to be able to start, teaching more people how to use FOI and enable them to do it on their own. It's a funny story, but I had a police chief call me yesterday with a question on how he could do an FOI request for something he was looking for. So I wanted to say to him, you're a police chief. You should know how to do this on your own without any, tutoring or whatever. But I'm always willing to help. I have attorneys that call me, how do I get this? Or am I entitled to this? You would think a lawyer would know the FOI statutes, but it's not something people use. And I think I've just been lucky that I've gotten good lessons in using it. And I don't mind teaching people how to use it for themselves.
That sounds like a partnership with Civic Beat. We can get something going. Maybe
Yeah,
here on the
I'm
air
always,
or in person.
if it's for the right reasons, I'm always willing to work with people.
All
So,
right. All right. No, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. This show, I really didn't want to dive into any specific brewing topic that may be going on in the city, but I'm sure your phone's going to be ringing for requests to come back on. Not only this show, but other shows to really talk about some of the things that Hartford is facing. This is a new administration that we're going into in 2024, and just still a lot of things that need to be talked about. A lot of budget issues that need to be talked about. Education is another area where I think there should be a little bit more daylight on some of the spending that occurs in our education system. Certainly, you mentioned the police chief. So just a lot of things. I think as residents, our part, playing our part in how the city is run. Requires this level of conversation. And so I certainly would like to have you back on and maybe dig into deeper a specific topic that you may be working on as you continue to do what you do. So that's an open invitation to you, Kevin.
okay.
Maybe we can
Yeah,
make
I
it
would,
a regular regular spot here on Civic Beat.
yeah, I still have high hopes for the city of Hartford. But I think it's incumbent on every resident of the city to do their role to keep their government working for them. Um, the government is supposed to work for us, not us for the government. So I think that's what one of the big things FOI has that enables people to do that.
Agreed. Well, if folks want to connect with you right now, how could they do that? What's the best way to get in touch with you? With a hot tip.
Either by email or my phone, which is, you know, I have with me most of the time. So either way, it's,
All
if
right.
somebody wants to call me or if somebody wants to send me an email, I'm more than happy to respond back.
All right. So we will keep reading. We'll keep an eye out. WeThePeopleHartford.com. Kevin Brookman.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Kevin, for joining us, and congratulations again on being recognized. Freedom of Information Award. That's big.
Well, and thank you to you and Stan for all you do to bring transparency or give people an avenue to hear what's going on. And thank you for coming to the event tonight at the Mark Twain House. It was good to see you both.
Absolutely. Good to see you too. And thanks for the invite. It was good to be there, and looking forward to working together this year, Kevin. I think we're going to have a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
All right, folks, there you have it. Civic Beat right here on accesstv.org. Keep it locked. Always something new, always something fresh coming to you from Hartford. Until next time, keep watching.
All right, Kevin, you're clear. Let me know.